Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. I am really enjoying this series that we're doing here. We are just kind of chugging right along with just breaking down some neighborhoods. And, as Indy, as everybody knows about Indy, it's street by street, it's neighborhood by neighborhood, pocket by pocket, however you want to say it. And that's our best. That's what we want to try to do with this, is just kind of break down some of these zip codes, some of these areas, into smaller neighborhoods, into smaller pockets, even talking about street by street in some cases and things. So that's what we're going to do here today. And I got an awesome team with me here today. Super excited about it. Got some of our partners here with a simple team on here with us today. So we got Miss Gloria Gear and Miss Elisha Drake joining Randy and I today. So how we doing, ladies?
Awesome.
It's a great day to be living in Indianapolis.
All right. So Gloria's bringing the energy today. I like it.
She is energized.
We're talking West Side neighborhoods. This is my jam. This is my area.
That's why we had you on.
Yeah. It was funny. We as I venture out, like talk to some of these people about like, hey, what can you help us out with these things? Like Elisha, she was like, well, I manage properties all over the place. So, I can talk about a lot of these pockets. And same for us. We wholesale all over the place. So we know a little bit about everything. Gloria's like, nope, West Side, mine. I like it. I want it. I want to talk about it. So it's awesome. So Gloria, let's start with you then. So today for this episode, we're going to kind of focus on kind of like West Indy. So just west of the downtown, the West Indy area, Stringtown, Hawthorne, Haughville, Venerable Flackville, those things. So kind of just like west of the river there from the downtown. So when you think about that, what's some of the first things that pop out to your mind? So I think a couple of years ago, I just always thought like, hey, rental market, like that's what I'm going to do, buy and hold, maybe do some notes, things like that. But now there's some flips going on and things. But what's one of the first things, or what's a couple of first things that pop up to your mind when you think about the West Side?
I still think it's very much a buy and hold neighborhood. It really is. Yes, there are some flips starting up. What I think is most exciting is all the development that's going on right around that area there. There is so much happening in that area. And if you look at the podcast and the chat groups on Facebook, a lot of them like, West Side is taking forever. It's not going to get there. But it's coming. I'm telling you, it's coming. And, I think there's a lot of different strategies you can use in that area. So I just think it's a great area to kind of plug into whatever your strategy is.
Yeah. So, I think it's super strong. One of the first things I always recommend is like, you're going to be able to buy and hold over there all day. If that's your strategy, that's what you're going to do. If you're looking for the appreciation, it's one of those things that you can buy now, hold it for a while. And then if you want that appreciation, a couple years down the line, it's going to be there. It's going to be coming and things. So, Elisha, how about yourself? How about when you think of kind of the West Side and some of those neighborhoods we mentioned, like what's one of the first few things that pop up to your mind, especially as a property manager that's managed multiple properties here? Is that what this is great for? Is just a buy and hold market over there?
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. The Stringtown area, however, I've noticed there's a lot more, in the ways of like new condos and apartment buildings and homes with the rooftop and smart homes and things kind of going on in that neighborhood. Definitely Haughville. I've been saying for a long time. In fact, I've taken some investors a couple of years ago through Haughville, and I said, I'm telling you, I'm going to start buying in here. And they're like, really, Haughville? Absolutely. I definitely think it's a great time to get into those areas. And exactly what you said, Brian. You get into those areas now, it's going to pay off for sure. Yeah, I believe in that.
So, and I think Randy, for you and for us, this has been a great market, a great area for us to be able to buy properties and then sell on owner financing. So this has been a great strategy for us that we've done for multiple years now. And I think it's a great place for that, because just, that's one of our goals is we don't want to just be, buying and selling properties here and there. We want to be able to be the bank in some cases as well. And the West Side has been able to provide some of that opportunity for us, where we're being able to buy properties and be able to sell them on owner financing. But Randy, like that, being able to do that in these areas as well, why don't you speak to that a little bit and like what opportunity that's brought for us?
Yeah. So, just having multiple exit strategies is always a great thing, right? So instead of just selling properties outright to other investors, we're able to sell or finance on pretty favorable terms, attractive terms for anybody. And we close them as a note and mortgage. And so we really just carry the lien on the property and just collect passive income that way. And it's I share that with some buyers in the first time when they ask me about the West Side. because I just kind of share our experience, and I point that out. I'm like, hey, if you buy a property out there, there's multiple things you can do. And one of them, I do bring up the owner financing part, and, it's some of them do take advantage of it. Some of them don't, but they keep it in the back of their head as another way to generate income using that property and being completely passive.
Yeah. So, and let's just kind of we'll start off kind of with that West Indy area, just kind of right around that 70. The big elephant in the room is always hey, what's going on with the stamping plan? What are they going to do with it? They're doing this project. Oh, it fell out. I feel like it's been that way since I moved out here to Indy. But some of those areas, especially if you go south of 70, I like some of those neighborhoods over there around Rhodius Park, especially. There's some really good things around there. And I see a lot of value kind of coming from that. So, Gloria, with you, just even around kind of West Indy, around that 70 area, what are you kind of seeing as far as kind of the markets going, and what are you seeing from properties that are over there, and what are you advising investors on come from that standpoint?
Well, really what I kind of start with is, like you said, all the development that's happening in that area. And I forgot to research this part, but there's some kind of goth thing going over there. I don't know. Randy probably knows more about that than I do.
Oh, we're all over that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's similar to a Top Golf type thing, and it's supposedly still coming. 16 Tech area. So that's actually on the east side of the river, right across from 16th Street. I actually was reading some articles this morning. 16 Tech has poured in December, they poured $500,000 into the surrounding neighborhoods around there to different community organizations, and they're doing another $500,000 in May. So that's huge when there's something going on. So 16 Tech is basically taking old factories and office buildings, and they're kind of revitalizing them and bringing more new businesses in. But they don't just care about the businesses, they care about the neighborhoods around there. So 16 Tech is something that you can Google. It's great to look at. Elisha kind of talked about the apartment buildings over there. River West Flats and Riverview Apartments are the two apartment buildings she's talking about. I called both of them today to just do a little research. A studio apartment, 345 square feet, is renting for $964 at River West Flats. A 2-bedroom is renting for $1,196. At Riverview Apartments, they start at $935 for their studios, and they go up to $1,900 for their 2 bedrooms. If they're getting that kind of stuff in those apartments, you better believe all those little houses behind there are gonna be doing the same thing. So a lot of good things happen in there. So that's right. From White River, if you go from the zoo, I kind of because that's a good place to find on Google Maps. Washington Street is the street there. Go up White River Parkway to 16th Street. And that's kind of all these neighborhoods that we're talking about. And then when you go to the west, then it's kind of iffy on where our west border is. I like to call Tibbs our west border, because what's happening over there is Bolton Square. There's MI Homes is building over there. I looked up their houses today. They're going from 280 to 320,000 in that area. So that's kind of our west border. What's happening is all this is going to squeeze in. All that development is going to squeeze in there. And then there's some new condos going up as well. Bolton Square condos are going for $280,000 a piece for a condo. Then one more little thing that Elisha talked about, that they're doing the new houses for the flips and stuff like that. I found one on 274 Reisner that sold for $335,000. This is right next to $30,000 to $50,000 houses. So all you investors out there, it's coming. Grab up these little houses, because once this starts, that's happening. So that's kind of where I start, is the development around there. Okay, so now let's dig in there and find some. Problem, as everybody knows, inventory is so low in Indianapolis. I looked this morning, that whole neighborhood, I have a search set up for 50 to 100,000, because I think that's kind of your sweet spot right now, because you can put a little add value in there, get a tenant in there, wait for 3 to 5 years, let it accrue some appreciation. So $50,000 to $100,000 range, there's 18 houses right now. So on the retail market. So I'm the retail person here. So the retail market, that's all that's out there. You've got to snatch it up fast. I put an offer in on this weekend. Literally, my investor sent it to me within an hour. I went out and viewed the property, wrote an offer, and got it, which is very highly unusual. But it was literally gone the first day. And I can't even remember how many offers he had on it. So other investors are starting to see that this area is good. So, watch out, pick them up now.
Yeah, definitely. I really like what you said there too, of just everything's kind of squeezing in. You have all the stuff that's going on around Tibbs, and then, of course you have the Speedway there. And then you go to the other side, right along the river with 16 Tech and IUPUI, and then even all the stuff that's going on at Riverside right now. But everything's just kind of crossing over that river. I really like that phrase of kind of like squeezing in there what's going on here. So Elisha, I want to obviously like kind of lean on you for what people can expect as far as like rent rates go kind of throughout these areas and stuff like that. So if they're, in the Stringtown and Hawthorne and then moving into the Haughville up into Venerable Flackville and stuff like that, what are some of the rent rates that people or investors can expect from these areas?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, it really does depend, as you mentioned when you got on here, the street by street.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these areas, two or three streets over isn't quite as developed as maybe a few streets from there. Obviously, Haughville, they have properties that are kind of like it was back in the day in Bates Hendricks. You had a home that you're selling for $200,000, $300,000, and then the home next to it rented for $550 a month, right? So a lot of that is still going on in that Haughville area, kind of down towards Rhodius Park, like you mentioned, and just that West Indy. And I'm kind of looking at a map here as I talk, and we've got quite a bit down on that South Reisner, in the Reisner area that she mentioned. And, we've got homes that are renting right now, they were picked up maybe with a tenant in them. And we get a lot of those where the tenant's already in place. And the owner has plans to rehab that property and take advantage of those prices that Gloria mentioned. Yeah. But they're writing out that lease right now. They're going ahead and finishing out the lease with that tenant that's already in place. And that tenant may only be paying $700 or $800 a month at this time. But the potential for that property is so large that they go ahead and purchase the property, finish up the lease. And then they have the plans, the exit strategies, the different things that they might do, like Randy was mentioning with that property.
So Elisha, are you seeing that they're going to do renovations and put higher end tenants in there? Or are they doing the renovations and then going to sell it?
Both. Yep, absolutely both. And a lot of times it depends on where they've purchased at. Some of them are looking to try to make that capital and kind of get out and buy some other things. And then some have just gotten a really great deal, and it just makes sense to buy and hold that one.
Yeah, this is an area in through here too where I've kind of just been talking, and it's been an issue of course, for the last year with just the evictions and people waiting out leases and stuff like that. This is like one of those areas I've advised a couple, investors on, like, hey, if you can get something here, it's like the leases, the rent's so low in some of these cases anyway, like just buy it where you can, because there's an issue and you get it for a cheap price, but go ahead and just wait out that lease, and then you can get that in there and then do those renovations and just, fix it up and rent it out again, or you can fix it up and sell it, because a lot of things are going on over there. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Randy, when it comes to you, when you're talking to investors that are, and you and I have had this conversation, multiple times over the last couple of years of like, man, we need that. Like, how are we getting people like, interested in the West Side? Like, there's good stuff here. We're doing pretty well with it. How do we get people to understand that a little bit more? So when you're having those conversations, and obviously it's picked up, because I feel like anything we get over there now, it's selling tomorrow. That's everything in Indianapolis, but especially here. So Randy, how have those conversations gone over the last, few months as it has picked up and people have started to understand, oh, the West Side is good. Like I would invest in the West Side.
Yeah, it's simply just education, because no one really talks about the West Side as much as the East Side. And, when I break it down, just showing them the prices, someone can get in on the West Side versus anywhere else in the city. The opportunity is there to get in at a very, very cheap price. And then again, they're unfamiliar with the rental rates. And I'm showing them pockets where they can get anywhere from, $800 to $950 for a 2 or 3 bedroom. And they're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, yeah. And you could be all in on that property for like $70,000. They're like, no way. Versus the East Side where you'd be over 100 probably in today's market. So just showing them those kind of points and showing them the little pockets on where, like, hey, here's where the safe neighborhood is to start. Like, start here and then expand from there. But yeah, it just comes down to educating people, like where the places to start at, and just showing them the opportunity, because it's not, like I said, it's overlooked, and people that are getting in right now are making a really good move. Gloria pointed out, because those values will come up and they'll be happy that they did.
Yeah. So Gloria, when it comes to that, of like people that are looking to do that, like Randy's talking about those pockets, like where are some of those best pockets you think, or even like, and then I kind of follow-up question along with that is like, is it possible to burr on the west side? Because that's in the thing of like, hey, is it east side? They've been doing it all over the east side, but is it possible to burr on the west side, and like kind of where are those pockets they can like really hit that up?
I would say it's a quasi burr strategy. I don't think you can do immediate flip and cash refi out. Now, there are some doing a little bit, but my strategy as an investor would be, I would go in there, buy this property, put $5,000 to $10,000 into it, get it rent ready, get your $700 to $900 renter in there, let it kind of season for 3 to 5 years, see what the market does. And then at that point, cash refi out, or like Elisha said, some of them are doing high-end renovations and selling them at that point. Yeah. So I don't think it's an immediate burr strategy, but maybe, I mean, you guys have all seen these prices are just going crazy right now. And I don't see it slowing down anytime this spring or summer. You may be able to, do an immediate burr in that area. I would say as far as areas, my favorite is that 16th Street down to Washington. The closer you are to White River Parkway, that's where the development's happening. So start there and just start gradually moving out. So that's where I would say to focus.
Yeah, definitely. That pocket there, and you can just, if you get any aerial views or anything like that, I know we have a couple of videos on our website of some of the aerial views of the neighborhoods. You can kind of see the pockets where all those renovations are kind of happening and stuff, where you can and still see the background or see the downtown in the background, which is always awesome too. And it's right across the river there. Yeah, it's really good stuff. So Randy, I want to kind of ask you as far as kind of like, because a lot of people don't necessarily know about this area too, the Venerable Flackville area. Kind of we're talking about basically in between the Speedway and like Marion University. I think this is a pocket where, we're talking about you can be kind of all in for like $70,000-$80,000. I think this even drops down a little bit more, where your rent might come down a little bit more too, but you're going to have basically, I see what happens along in this area. There's a lot of like 2-1s, but they have basements. So you can do a little bit more with those. And I know we've done quite a deals through there, but when you're talking about that area, what can investors kind of expect from what you can kind of pick up there and what they could even do with it?
Yeah, it's an interesting area because, basically from 16th Street, as you go north from there, the property values climb. And then as you get closer to so Marion University is on the northern part of that little pocket. Properties around there are, they're, first of all, they're all brick. Everyone loves that. They're very nice, and values are as high as like 175, 195 on some of those houses. So it is hard to find a deal there because it is a small area, but it just kind of shows you as you get closer to Marion University, what it is available and how much those values do increase. But if you're on the south end of Venerable Flackville, yeah, you can definitely pick up a property. Every time we get a property there, it's sold in an hour. Because they are easy properties. They're not too big, but great rentals. And like you said, you could be all in for around that 60 to 80 and, have 900 in rent.
Yeah. So, Gloria, I want to ask you, because we're going to actually do this on the next episode, but a lot of people, when you look up like Venerable Flackville, kind of that area, that's what I kind of know it as. That's what it is on Google and things like that too. A lot of times that pop up is like Eagledale. Okay, can you give us like kind of a definition, like kind of the difference of where actually is Eagledale and where is like kind of this Venerable Flackville area that we're talking about here?
So I think Lafayette Road, it kind of goes diagonal. So I kind of feel like that's the kind of dividing line. Yeah. So like if you look at a Google map and look at the Speedway just north of there, that's what I would consider Eagledale. Mm-hmm. And then Venerable Flackville, sometimes I just kind of call it east of Speedway. Yeah. Like Randy said, like north towards Marion University is a nicer area. And I kind of think Lafayette's the dividing point there, where north of Lafayette Road is really is nicer, and those brick houses you get south of there. And yes, there's still the 2-1s, but they're going to be on a slab. They're going to be smaller. They're going to have aluminum siding. But again, they're so cheap to fix up. It takes almost nothing to get them in rent-ready condition. Yeah. So I consider Lafayette the dividing line.
Yeah, that's what, I kind of agree with that. It's kind of one of those things that I always see from and I talk about this because, when you are sourcing your properties from, wholesalers or other people and stuff too, you might see like, hey, Eagledale property. Well, is it really Eagledale? It's kind of like the Fountain Square. Everything's around there is Fountain. No, it's not really. So just be careful of that. So Elisha, I know when Gloria just brought up kind of like renovating these properties and stuff. So a lot of these properties, they're kind of, there are your 2-1s, 3-1s. I kind of threw out kind of a little bit of all these areas. Now they're starting to build up, do some 2-story houses, a lot of the new builds and things like that too. But when you're renovating, from the property management side and you're working with investors and they're looking to renovate these things, how much renovation do they need to like really consider, or is going into this? Because a lot of these, when I'm looking at them, like, I think you can kind of maybe put like 20,000 to 30,000 at the most in, and I think you're going to be okay. Am I correct in saying that with a lot of these properties kind of in these areas?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement. I was looking actually as you guys were talking in the Flackville area, and I looked up, I knew I had a property that was actually purchased by an investor through a wholesaler, had a tenant in place, and I looked up to see how much it was renting for, and it was actually $825 for a 2-1.
Yeah.
And I knew it was a little bit higher. It is a Section 8 tenant. But $825 a month, and that property has not been rehabbed. I would consider that property to be average condition, clean, habitable, carpet, certainly not rehabbed. And I think that, definitely 20,000 is going to, your new paint throughout, your new flooring, taking care of any major, things that need to be taken care of in the property. Some investors ask that question, how far do you have to go with it? And it just really depends on, as you're getting closer, as you mentioned, to the north side, Marion University, for instance, you would do a little bit more rehab if you got a home in that area versus, further south. So it just really depends on the area. We've talked about so many different areas, but I think that's a good average for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's all comes back to too, of like understanding as an investor what you want to do, what your strategy is. So if your strategy is to buy and hold these for the next 30 years, then yeah, you can go ahead and do the renovations now and it's okay. But if you're gonna, just buy it, hold it for a little bit and then, flip it or something like that, then yeah, you might not have to, you maybe put in $5,000 just to get it, livable and make sure everything's safe and everything like that. And then you can kind of do the higher end upgrades later and stuff. So, Gloria, when we're talking about this area over here, I know we've kind of talked about, the buy and hold market and, some flips and some of the projects going on, even some owner financing stuff. Are you able to buy lots over here? So are there still lots that are accessible or buyable, or do you even want to be looking at lots if you're an investor, would you say?
If you can find them. I think that's kind of the big thing is if you can find them.
Yeah, I think really and as I asked that question, I kind of answered it in my head a little bit, is like, I feel like any of the lots that I have bought and sold over here were all connected to a property. So it's like basically a double lot that I found with some of these properties. And then you can probably divide it. A lot of them are even like fenced off and you might have to take a fence down and divide it off and stuff like that. But some of these, as we're talking about this, they're great properties for families to go live in as well, because there's some double lots out there that you can find, which always makes for a good investment as well. So, Randy, I want to get your thoughts on this because, Gloria, I think called you out on it earlier, the golf thing that's coming to town over here along the in West Indy, just south of 70 there. When we've been down there and we've driven around that area and stuff like that, and we've done some deals around there. But kind of what's going on from, I would say, even the difference from 2 years ago to right now of the renovations that's done around Rodius Park over to where, I don't know what it is called. It's the Top Golf B or whatever it is, the other version of that. So when you see the difference that have kind of been over there, because I feel like a lot of times, like underneath 70, people will kind of forget about that little section in there.
Yeah.
But what do you see over there and kind of the renovations that's happened over the last couple of years?
Yeah. So that golf, man, if I remember the name of it, it's something easy, like Golf Now, or like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
It originated in Tulsa. I know anything about it. I know what it looks like.
But let's just say it's like baby Top Golf, right? But anyway, that's
New flying T, isn't it?
Flying T, that's what it is. I guess it was a little bit more cool than Golf Now, but yeah, so that's going to be tucked in just along the river there, on the west side of the White River, down by West Indy, which is going to be good because it's going to bring kind of just new light over there, because really just right now in that area is very industrial. And that's why I think people always forget about, the area around Rodius Park south of 70, because they just think of that area as just, that's just industry. And then you'll get some small houses here and there. But if you go drive around the area of West Indy, specifically around Rhodius Park, that's where majority of the renovations are going on now. We spoke about this on another episode. It is a park in Indianapolis, and usually all those homes around there are the ones that are first to be done up. And that's what's happening there. And it's kind of spreading out. And then you have Morris Street, which, it's kind of 50-50 on some nice big duplexes, and then some duplexes that still need to be bought up and get a lot of work done to them. But there's a lot of opportunity there, and that's going to happen throughout the next year or so. But combined with the activity that's going on with Rhodius Park, and then the new flying tee that's going to be put in there, that's only going to, attract more people to that neighborhood, which in turn is going to, investors going to pop in and start renovating those homes and either renting them out or flipping them.
Yeah. And that project's still on target and everything like that too. And I just look at like what happened in Fishers. Not that Fishers really needed like that Morris things, but like when Top Golf went over there, like that side of, on that side of 69, everything went up. Everything just blew up over there. So we know what's going to happen down here in this area as well. It's really cool. And you brought up Morris Street, which I think is really important because you kind of see, that's connecting kind of West Indy over right into Bates Hendricks.
That's like the main drag.
Right there. Yeah. And you can kind of see, you can literally drive and be like, oh, this is really, really nice areas. Houses have been flipped here and stuff like that. And then it's like, oh, okay, it's not. And then you're right into Bates Hendricks, but there's some, stuff right there on the old South Side and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and Morris is a good street and kind of a good boundary to kind of pay attention to what's going on there. As far as, the streets that would go vertical then as well as of kind of what's going on and what's being, flipped and developed and things over there. So, so we're running out of time here a little bit, but I'd love to just kind of go around the horn and just get any last tips, any last thoughts on anything that we didn't mention yet when it comes to the west side of the downtown. Gloria, let's go ahead and start with you. Any last thoughts you have for the investors out there that are thinking about or even investing and want to get a little bigger in the west side?
So we got to talk about culture. So Long's Donuts. Has everybody been to Long's Donuts?
There we go.
If investors are coming to town, you need to stop at Long's Donut, pick up a donut. You're going to wait in line outside. They only take cash. Don't bring your credit card. It's one of those old school donut shops. You got to be there. And
Alicia, by the way, let's just call it Alicia. Alicia was at a donut shop yesterday. I saw this post, and she mentioned Long's Donuts in a post about another donut shop. So
yes, and it was a second. I made sure to make sure that I said it is a second. And I have to agree with Gloria because I typically start there and then I make my way down to King Ribs. So,
there you go.
So yeah.
So, and the other place is new. It's called California Cheeseburger. It's gone viral. There's 1.5 to 3 hours wait to get a cheeseburger at this place. I've gone by it a few times and thinking I'm going to stop and do it. And I'm like, I can't. So one night it was there at 11:30 at night. They don't close till midnight. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a cheeseburger at 11:30 at night. Nope. There was still 5 people in line and they had a cone on the back car. Sorry, we're closed. So cheeseburger. So supposedly it's a new place. Haven't tried it yet. I don't know if anybody else has yet, but it's the place to be now. It's all on the west side.
Awesome. I'm always looking for places to eat. So I love it. So Alicia, how about you? Any last thoughts or any last tips on the west side there?
Yeah, so West Side, I'm a West Sider, so West Side is definitely the best side, in my opinion. So, of course, like she said, Long's and King Ribs right there, and it's close to the Speedway, and I know we're going to talk about that in the next episode there. But I was in Haughville 3 years ago doing rentals, and we were renting for $800 and $900 easily in that area for 2 and 3 bedrooms. And so I said at that time, this area, this west side, the Haughville and the Hawthorne and Stringtown and all of these areas, I knew it was coming. So I'm in agreement with everyone else on here today that get it now. Let's get going on it now, because if you sit around too long, you'll be sad. Yeah. So yeah.
I love it. Randy, how about you?
Yeah, just always keep an open mind, especially coming to the west side. There's just the both of them kind of hit everything on the head there, but it's going to be a solid spot, especially if you're in it for the long run, and most people are. So you got to look at the big picture there, and if you can get in now, and you're cool with holding on to that property for the next 10 or so years, I mean, you're more than likely going to be happy you did. I don't have a crystal ball, but you know, history shows that it'll definitely be a good pickup.
Yeah. So awesome stuff. Just to wrap this up here too, I just want to kind of point out a couple of things is, you know, when Alicia's saying that, you know, 3 years ago, she's renting properties over here in Haughville for $800 or $900. Like, people are telling me now that like, oh, that's not possible. You can't, like,
Right.
she was doing it 3 years ago. Like, it is possible. You can do it. And I just want to say too, like Gloria kind of mentioned the culture there too, like be a part of that culture that's going on in these neighborhoods. If you're investing in these, be that person that's like, hey, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to be in this neighborhood. I'm going to have 10 properties here. And I'm going to help provide for the culture of what's going on in this neighborhood and become a part of what's going on in this amazing city of Indianapolis. So with that, we are going to get out of here. We're actually going to come right back with another episode for next week. Or for the next episode of the Indy Investor Pod. And we're just going to go further a little out on the west side. We're going to talk about Speedway and Eagledale, Mickleyville, and all that stuff out there. So Elisha says best side, west side. We'll see if we can continue it on for the next episode. So thanks a lot, guys. Take care.